Hello, Jody here from Healing Journey, and today I'm going to talk to you a little bit more about medication. As you know, I help women who are struggling with anxiety to get to the root causes and reduce or eliminate their anxiety completely without taking medication. And today, what I'm going to be doing is explaining to you a little bit more about why medication works short term, what it's doing, and why when you go off the medication, the anxiety still returns. So this is something that we focus on in both of the ways that you can work with me. So one of the ways you can work with me is through my online program called the Holistic Anxiety Fix. So this is an excellent program, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about that in relation to how you can address anxiety without taking medication. And the other way to work with me is by working with me one-on-one, and with my one-on-one clients, I do a super deep dive into root causes of anxiety. But today we're going to talk about why it's important to take a holistic perspective and why medication is not the magic pill that you are hoping it to be. I know a lot of you that are following me are doing this because you're looking for alternatives. So let's talk about what one of the problems is with medication, why for some people it can be effective, and then when you pull off of it, all of a sudden things start up again. And what I'm actually want to talk about is the fact that a lot of benzodiazepines that are on the market today, so Xanax is an example of this. Another example of this is a Valium. There are a lot of the PAMs, so diazepam is more of the formal name of it. They're actually one of the most prescribed medications in United States. This class is the most prescribed, I'm going to say that again, medication in United States, which I think really speaks to the volume of anxiety that we're seeing across the country, particularly with women. And one of the reasons that these medications work is because it will activate the GABA receptors. So what the heck is GABA? GABA is a neurotransmitter, right? And this neurotransmitter is inhibitory. And so it's going to slow your system down. So if your system's kind of worked up, GABA is going to relax you. So I want you to pay attention here, because I'm going to share with you some of the symptoms that your GABA system is not working, that you don't have enough GABA. Number one is that your mind is restless. If you have feelings of dread, if you're feeling overwhelmed and you're not sure why, if you're feeling anxious or panicked and you're not sure why, if you're starting to worry about things you maybe didn't worry about before, if you feel this inner tension and excitability, if you have unfocused attention, so it's super scattered, and if you cannot turn your mind off to relax. So you can see here how GABA is really crossing over into a lot of the anxiety symptoms. And so if you're somebody who has low GABA, then, taking some sort of medication, what it's doing is it is actually activating those GABA receptors, so pretending like it's GABA and calming things down. So the reason why it's working is that. But what happens when you go off medication, and I hear this from people a lot, is that, they go off of medication and their anxiety returns. And the problem is that this medication is not getting to the root causes of why you actually have low GABA in the first place. So it's helping with this deficit in GABA, right? But it's not necessarily looking at, well, why do you have low GABA? Because let me tell you, you were not born with low GABA. And so what we see then is that the medication is filling a void, and it's a bit of a Band-Aid solution, right? And so if you're somebody who has thought about going on medication or has heard medication works, maybe you're on medication right now and you want to get off the medication, maybe, you are considering the medication, or you've come off of the medication and all of those anxiety symptoms have come back. There is a withdrawal piece that I'm not going to talk about today, but it's partially could be because You really need to look at the underlying causes of why your GABA is low. And this is actually what we do in the Holistic Anxiety Fix, is we start to look at some of these underlying causes of low GABA, which is not necessarily going to be a mindset thing, but in this particular area, we want to be looking more at the physiological conditions of your body. So just to back up a little bit, in case you're new to following me, I am both, I have a master's in social work, so I work as a therapist with individuals, helping them around the mindset piece, but I also am a functional health practitioner. And so what I like to do when I work with anxiety is I like to look at both the mindset side of things as well as the physiological side of things. And so what this discussion today is really pulling from is the physiological side of things. So you're probably asking, what is actually underlying low GABA? So there are a lot of reasons that you might have low GABA, but I'm going to focus in on two of them today. Number one reason you might have low GABA is actually if your blood sugar is imbalanced, because there's a connection between balanced blood sugar and GABA production. So if you are somebody who has a lot of the symptoms of hypoglycemia or insulin resistance, if you get those hangries before a meal, or if you're, really jittery and shaky before a meal, then chances are you actually have issues with GABA production because of blood sugar imbalance. And so one of the things we do in the Holistic Anxiety Fix is we look at how do you balance your blood sugar? How can you do that without, taking medication, needing insulin? How can we do this from a lifestyle perspective? The second thing, and this may be something that's not even on your radar, but toxins and metals can actually be one of the reasons why you're not producing enough GABA, because it interferes with GABA production. And toxins are everywhere now in the industrial era, and so are metals. If we're breathing air, we're breathing in metals because there's metals in your gasoline. And so this is another thing that we look at. It's one of the key components of the Holistic Anxiety Fix, which is how do you detox this? So, one step is taking it out of your life. And the second step is going to be to figure out how to get it out of your body. So when you're starting to address the root causes, then what's going to happen is your body's going to be naturally producing enough GABA to be inhibitory, to inhibit that overactive stress response that I talked about earlier today in this conversation. And so then the anxiety is going to naturally go away, because what you've done is you've dug deep enough to get to the root causes. Another kind of connection here is if you have leaky gut, right? And this is a whole other talk, but if you have gut issues, you're going to have a leaky brain issue. And one way to actually test this is GABA. Because if you have a leaky brain, GABA is going to leak through out of your brain, and it can also go into your brain. So one of the ways to test if you have a leaky brain is to take super high doses of GABA and see if you feel calm. And one of the ways to test if you have low GABA is to take GABA, and if you feel calm, you have low GABA. But here's the thing. If you take GABA and you feel calm, this means that you have a leaky brain. Why? Because GABA technically should not be able to cross the blood-brain barrier if you don't have a leaky brain. So there's kind of two things you're learning if you take this GABA and feel calmer. One is that you're deficient in GABA, and you definitely need to be diving to some of the root causes of low GABA production. And the second is that you have leaky brain, and if you have leaky brain, guess what? You also have leaky gut, and you need to do some work on your gut issues. So I hope in this, live, you're starting to see how it's all connected together, and how anxiety, yes, mindset, super important. But there's also a lot of other lifestyle factors that are going to be playing into your neurotransmitter production, that are then going to be playing into your ability to manage stress effectively. So, if you'd like to go out and try GABA, this is not something I'm necessarily recommending, but if it is working for you, then that's definitely a clue that you need to dig deeper. If you'd like more information on how I work with people, then you can either message me below or you can send me a DM or a PM. And I will definitely let you know how we can have a further conversation about how I can help you get to the root causes of your anxiety.